Rain, and in this video we're going to talk about how to play Rain like SonicFox. And I know that is a bit of a silly title, you're not SonicFox, so you're not going to play like SonicFox. But what I mean is I'm going to talk about and show you how to do the cool pieces of tech that SonicFox uses when they're playing as Rain, so that you can steal those pieces and add them into your toolkit, and you know, maybe you'll get there someday. Maybe we'll get there someday. Let's just get right into it. Most of these are going to involve using Cyrax, because Cyrax does make Rain better in a lot of ways, and a lot of the interesting things Sonic does incorporate using Cyrax. So, firstly, and possibly most importantly, Sonic makes great use of the fact that Cyrax lets you combo off of really weird things, like your armored move and your throws. Now, these don't lead to tons of damage, but being able to get these decently damaging small combos that lead to good knockdowns off of really common hits like your armored wake up and your throw mean that you just get a lot more reward for very common things. So the combos that Sonic goes for off of these are also really interesting, particularly off of the armored launcher, which is now an armored wake up, which is now an armored launcher. If you call out Cyrax just almost at the same time that you press the button for your enhanced move, so when you press down back 3 and the block button together, you also just press the Kameo button basically at the exact same time, and as you can see, Cyrax will suck you in and you can do this cool combo. And as you can see, it's not tons of damage, but it's a lot more than you would get from a regular armored wake up, and it has the added benefit that, of course, it's gonna make it plus. It's gonna make it safe and plus and ridiculous. You get a lot of chip damage, or you'll just get a lot of damage if it hits the opponent with a really cool extension that you don't usually get with Rain, because the round the world kick is generally not too useful, but this is just a really cool extension thanks to Cyrax weirdly sucking you in. And yeah, to combo off of your throw is also relatively easy, probably the easiest cameo to use to combo off of your throw. You just need to time it right before the bubble explodes, and you can do any of your aerial attack strings. You can't get a combo even when you do get your 2-4-3, because there's too much gravity, but you just take the knockdown to dash in and go for another overhead or something. So once again, it's not tons of damage, but it is more damage and better knockdowns off of a simple thing such as a throw. You can all... pretty neat. Now the next thing is probably one of, honestly, Rain's biggest strengths, but Sonic makes sure to use it a lot, and that's using your fireball or water geyser, whatever that is, water beam cancels. I'll just say projectile cancel. Using projectile cancels along with ambush attacks, and then you can dash cancel your projectile and go for easy meterless extended combos. In this case I actually did spend meter, but as you can see, if you do spend meter, you get kind of an easy 40%, or you can just easily get like nearly the same amount of damage at meterless. And this is really useful and really easy to do, particularly with Cyrax. With some other ambush cameos, the timing to call them out successfully can be a little odd, but Cyrax is extremely fast and you can do this no problemo. So this happens off of basically everything as well. Off of my 4-2-1, just call out Cyrax while it's happening, go for my projectile, hold it down and just mash forwards. As I dash out of it, I can easily go for the overhead, and booyah, I've gotten a simple combo with a nice big chunk of damage, and it doesn't cost me anything except a cameo call. What's also really good about this is that you don't really have to think about it too much. I can just do it, and if the opponent is blocking, then it just leads to some cool block pressure as well, where I'm cancelling my buttons, my projectile, and I get to dash in after Cyrax, go for an overhead or a low as long as I'm close enough. Step a little bit closer, but it's cool. It leads to pressure, and it means you just don't have to think about it. It's an easy hit confirm because you do the exact same whole sequence whether the opponent's getting hit or not. And that's just generally the strength of Cyrax, but this is a particularly good thing with Rain as well. And as I mentioned, you can do it easily off of any buttons without any weird timing, even off of my standing 1. It's not like I have to input the cameo before I do the standing 1 or anything. I could just do 1-1, and kind of at the time I press the second standing 1, Cyrax is still going to connect and I get these awesome combos. And if you want to be a little bit flashy, you can actually make them slightly better as well. And add an extra jump 2 in there from the dash jump cancel, just to be a little bit more fancy if you have the execution for it. So that's another really big strength and something that you'll see Sonic using a lot, and they actually use it a little bit more than this, because once you have the threat of just always being able to call out Cyrax and go for amazing pressure, then the opponent kind of respects you more because they're like, okay, let's get ready to flawless block and block this whole sequence or something. And then Sonic uses a lot more of Rain's inbuilt cancels. So even without using Cyrax for some like actual real cancels, just doing this kind of stuff works really well for Sonic. They use it a lot, whether it's off of the mid or just the 1-1s. You can even backdash if you want to keep yourself safe. The thing is, a lot of the time your buttons kind of push you at a distance where if the opponent is trying to poke you from here, while I'm holding down the projectile, their poke kind of misses, and then when he cancels it, you get the whiff punish on the down 1 poke. So it really just catches a lot of things, and combined with the fact the opponent's trying to respect this Cyrax situation, it makes it kind of real. Of course, not actually real, but it makes it feel real to the opponent. You can also use the portal summon, which is -4 after 4-2-1. It's a really, really good cancel, which means just on block you have this fast cancel where you can just go in for buttons afterwards a lot quicker than the opponent expects you to be able to. And it kind of looks like the animation of a special move, so they don't want to hit a button on it. And it's a little bit more, even slightly more gimmicky than the projectile cancel, but it works well, particularly in the corner. And this leads us to the next thing that, let me not do that. Let's just go to the corner. The next thing that Sonic uses a lot is actually placing portals. Particularly in pressure, but also in knockdowns and stuff. And particularly in the corner. And even though they might not teleport to them all the time, they use the other benefits the portals have. So portals have the benefit of having really fast startup, like in these situations that we just mentioned. You can cancel into them and they can kind of work as pressure tools. You can do blah blah blah, ooh, catch you with the down 3, then keep like looping this over again and get this really weird pressure with these portals. But then as you're using it as a pressure tool, the portals are there, and there's 2 of them because you keep using them a bunch, and they stay there for a while, which means now you actually have a reasonably useful way of going into your conflux. And the conflux still isn't very useful if the opponent gets hit, but what's kind of interesting is that it's a new way for Rain to go for plus frames, because you get +3 easily just for the cost of 1 bar, which in my opinion is still kind of expensive, so it's not a broken tool, but it's interesting and useful in the way that now Rain can use basically any method of getting plus frames, either spending a Kameo bar to get, you know, the Cyrax plus frames. You can use some highs like this to get a plus frame, but you know, it's a little bit more gimmicky, the opponent can duck, or you can have the option of just spending your own meter to get plus frames. So you don't have to be locked into this one way of getting plus frames, which means you can just get them more consistently and your opponent doesn't really know when you're going to be using plus frames, and it's just kind of interesting. And combining it with the fact that these on their own are good for pressure tools, and then you can use it for genuinely actual good pressure that is actually plus, it's pretty cool. And Sonic doesn't only summon them in pressure, but also as knockdowns. So usually when people are going for combos like off of the round the world kick, they would go back 3 into Geyser, just because, yeah, you're getting damage. Why would I not go for this? Particularly off of stuff like this, as you can see, the damage at the end isn't actually that big. So Sonic likes to go for a back 3 into a portal. And that actually has a pretty good knockdown. It's pretty similar to some other knockdowns you get off of little things, and it leaves you really close to the opponent, so you can go straight into overhead, low shenanigans, or just more into your mid pressure with your cancels, summoning portals, canceling your projectiles, using Cyrax to cancel things, and then always having the threat of this relatively safe low that you can hit confirm, or this safe silly overhead that's technically reactable, but in combination it can be a little bit tricky, but it's still pretty reactable. So yeah, a lot of portal summoning is something you'll notice from Sonic's gameplay compared to other people, even though there's not a lot of portal teleporting, because I think Sonic understands that that's not such a great tool. There's a lot of interesting use of portals that I have not seen anyone else use. Also, there was a few uses, particularly against Kung Laos, who love to jump. If Rain ever gets a setup like this, you can go boom and catch him out of the sky and keep him far away and keep zoning. So there is some potential there with portals, and I think Sonic is one of the best people to explore and make most of weird mechanics like them. And then the final thing that I think is particularly cool about Sonic's gameplay is that, I mean, we already kind of talked about combos, but he Rain is really good at using Cyrax, that he can combo into anything, even particularly his fully charged projectile. I don't know why I said that really weirdly, I think I just... Cyrax can combo into the fully charged projectile. I don't know why I said the most strange run-on sentence there. But yeah, I haven't seen many people using this because it can be a little bit hard to do, but Sonic, you know, being a master of execution and labbing, has found ways that are actually relatively easy to go into it, and of course Sonic just always does it correctly. So, using the vertical helicopter, you can go into the fully charged projectile in a bunch of situations like Rain. Like one thing I discovered in day one is you can do stuff like this. Whoops. So you can get that off of that little string, but also off of any point in a combo now, as Sonic has particularly liked to shown. Particularly in the corner. Oh, I'm saying that word a lot, particularly. But when we get these launchers in the corner, after 2-1, and you get that nice long knockdown, as long as you time it correctly, you can get this fully charged projectile into the unblockable setups off of practically any hit in the corner, which is kind of crazy. And I think the tip to get this consistently is to, if you've gotten 3-2 as your thing in the corner, you want to time the Cyrax summon for as the 2-1 hits. So I go forward 2-1, and like when you see and feel the one hit, that's when you call Cyrax. But if you've used 2-4-3, you want to do it just a little bit in between the 2 and the 1. So do it a bit earlier in that situation, because the gravity is just slightly different. And you want to make sure the opponent's really low to the ground, because if you do it at a weird time... Oh, well that was the wrong summon. It'll either miss, or the opponent will go flying over your head and you lose the corner and you're very minus. Make sure you do it correctly. And it does lead to the crazy setup, just as usual. As you can see, you can do it off of that aerial string as well. Pretty cool. It can be done mid-screen, but it becomes a little harder, and I think if you do want to do it mid-screen, you should do a bit of an easier combo. Like, we can use the same thing we did before, where we do this. The point being, though, that you can get these fully charged projectile setups mid-screen. You just might have to do a little bit of a less damaging combo. But it's still very cool, it's still very useful. I think that just about brings us to the end. So just to recap, the cool things that Sonic likes to use when playing Rain is comboing off of your armor and your throw. Then also being able to combo off of any button using the projectile dash cancels. Using Cyrax just leads to really good combos, and also really easily leads to some pretty great pressure that can lead into mix with overheads or lows. And the fact that that pressure then exists means that Sonic can then go for a little bit more fake pressure, where you just use your projectile cancels or your portal cancels, because the opponent is respecting that annoying Cyrax pressure. And then now we're on portals, use a lot of portals. Summon portals a lot. Even if you don't use them, the summon is really useful. You can use it in pressure, off of a lot of strings, like 1-1-4, 4-2-1, and if you're doing it in the corner, then both of the portals are going to be on the opponent at the same time. So when you do your things like a conflux, the opponent is going to get hit by them, and then you can get some real plus frames to extend your pressure. And it just is a cool way of putting lots of portals on the screen, so you have the option of going for the teleport or going for the conflux whenever you like, even if you don't actually use them. And then also, being able to combo into your fully charged projectile from any hit leads to a lot of unblockable setup potential and pretty good damage. That time actually does choose to go for the damage instead of setting up another portal. Pretty cool. And there you go. That's how you can play like SonicFox. Of course, kidding, but it's cool tech, and steal it, try it out. Cyrax is really good. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.